My name is Vera Gant, and my research study of interest was resilient grandparents. I was under the direction of Dr. Eveline Colomo, and the title reads, An Exploration of the Expanding Role of Grandparents as Caregivers. There are 7.5 million American children that are being raised by their grandparents. This study explored the state of our knowledge about grandparents raising grandchildren with a special interest in identifying and evaluating the determinants of grandparents raising grandchildren. This was a qualitative study, and the purpose of this qualitative study was to basically get into the lives of those grandparents, and I wanted to kind of see what they were dealing with when they're raising, when they're raising their grandchildren. So this slide here, it depicts what previous research that I found last year. All of these are causes and life-changing events that have led up to grandparents raising their grandchildren and becoming that, the primary role. My research question was, what are the challenges that they face? What are they actually facing while the young children are in their home, or if they're teenagers that they have to deal with? Here are my methods used. I had 7 participants recruited from a local church here in Wichita, Kansas. It was a semi-structured focus group, and it lasted for about an hour and 30 minutes. This is my interview schedule, and there were a total of 7 questions. Here it's 6. The 7th question, basically, I wanted to know if they had any extra stuff to add, any extra info that they wanted to add with what I was asking them there. And here are my results. So actually, there were 7 African-American grandparents, and their age ranged from 55 to 85, and their marital status, there was 2 of them that were widowers, there were 2 that were married, and 3 that were divorced. And these results here, at the bottom here, all 7 grandmothers here, they were raising a total of 9 grandchildren in their home, and age ranges 3 to 18. All 7 participants reported having a support system. They had their support system, they had like a granny theme at their church. So they had like a grandma support system, like a ministry at their church where they could go in and talk and things of that nature to just kind of give them some support. And then there was a lot of them that went to the Kansas Children's Service League. They go there and watch videos and things of that nature. Here are 3 things that I came up with here. The first one is financial hardship and sacrifice. The other is higher power as their major source of support. The last one is grown kids have more mental and physical impact on health versus the grandchildren. So financial hardship and sacrifices, we all know grandparents, they face economic difficulties, especially on a fixed income. And poverty can actually have an effect on grandparents raising their grandchildren, due to like trying to make ends meet. They live on a fixed income. They're trying to buy clothes and things of that nature for their grandchildren. I don't have the quote up there, but One of the grandparents, I can remember the lady saying, one of the grandparents saying that I just don't have the ends to all the ends to meet my house, my overall household. I can't do it. And she also stated that she just robs Peter to pay Paul. And she said this is just how she functions. Higher power as their major source of support. I thought that they were going to actually have church in this small focus group because the grandparents were so strong on their foundation as being strong in the Lord, and basically their quote, they all quoted Philippians 4:13, which is, everyone knows that, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And the last thing, grown kids have more of a mental and physical impact on health versus grandchildren. The quote that I remember, one grandmother said, health-wise, she stays sick all the time and somewhat depressed. On the other hand, she said, it's not the grandchildren that gets her wired. It's the grown children. So here are my limitations. So with diagnosis, this study didn't probe further about how grandchildren impacted the health of the health specifically, like for example, for like high blood pressure or diabetes or things of that nature. It didn't go off into that, but they were just basically stating that it was the grown children that worked on their psyche. And of course, it was a small sample size, so of course it wasn't generalizable. My recommendations. Here to provide services that target the needs of the children and grandparents. So here I just kind of want to say that, maybe since I'm a social work major, maybe we as social workers need to be into the homes of these grandparents, okay? I also work for child welfare, and so I'm in the homes, and we actually go out to some of the kinship homes and just kind of just see what they're needing. And I think that needs to be more one-on-one, doing that and going into these homes and making sure that these grandparents that are age 55 and 85 that have little small children in their homes, just kind of help them out and just see what they're actually going through. And actually develop support programs that can help aid grandparents in their daily life as caregivers. Again, going into that home, actually doing some one-on-one with them, making sure maybe homework is done, things of that nature. Some of the grandmothers had teenagers, like 15, 16-year-old teenagers. So we need to basically get them in programs, like a TRIO program, making sure, are they ready for college if they're seniors and things of that nature. Just overall making sure that that grandmother is supported by any means necessary. And lastly, examine the effects of stability on changes in caregiving. In conclusion, grandparents raising grandchildren are a special and unique group. They deal with a lot. They deal with their stresses, they deal with low income, they're trying to figure out how I'm gonna make ends meet, how am I gonna get the kids' school clothes, the grandchildren's school clothes, how am I going to get them the things that they need to, to provide for their needs. So I would say, being that I am a grandmother, and I don't know if I would ever have to raise my grandchildren, but I think I would be ready because of my study. And this is why I call them resilient.